We have been taught our entire lives that the great fires of the 19th century were nothing more than tragic accidents. A kerosene lamp overturned. A wooden house caught fire. Strong winds did the rest. That is the official explanation. Simple, convenient, easy to accept. But the moment you stop repeating it and begin to look closer, something feels wrong. When I first started examining photographs taken after these fires, I noticed something unsettling. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to flat, empty ground. Not ruins, not debris, just leveled earth. And yet standing right beside these wastelands were massive stone buildings. Thick walls, enormous arches, windows as tall as three-story houses, almost untouched. If the fire was so powerful, why did these structures survive? And if the fire was weak enough to spare them, how did entire city blocks vanish completely? Fire, by nature, is chaotic. It does not choose. It does not plan. But what we see in these cities looks anything but chaotic. The burned areas form straight lines, perfect blocks, clear boundaries, as if someone had drawn them in advance. I began studying maps made immediately after the disasters, and the more I compared them, the more uncomfortable I became. The geometry was too precise, too clean. Fire does not respect geometry, yet here it clearly did. Then I found eyewitness testimonies. One firefighter wrote that when his unit arrived on a certain street, it was already reduced to a uniform layer of ash. He emphasized that only hours earlier, stone houses had stood there. Stone houses, gone in hours. Another witness described flames that did not move with the wind, but appeared simultaneously in several places. He said it felt less like a spreading fire and more like something igniting from within the city itself. Official historians usually dismiss these accounts as exaggeration, panic, trauma, emotional distortion. But there are too many such reports, from too many cities, across too many regions. This was not an isolated incident. Another strange detail emerges when we examine how quickly these cities were rebuilt. According to official statistics, after the fires there was a shortage of labor, a shortage of materials, a shortage of equipment. And yet within just a few years, new cities rose from the ashes. Administrative buildings, theaters, railway stations, schools, all built in a remarkably uniform style, monumental, symmetrical, orderly. The level of craftsmanship is astonishing. Monolithic columns, intricate ceilings, massive facades. Who built all of this, with what resources, and in such a short time? The usual answer is simple. That's just how they built back then. But this explanation collapses when we look at population data. In several cities, census records show something extraordinary. Just a few years after the fires, the population increased dramatically. In some cases by 30%, in others by nearly 50%. No records of mass migration exist. No train manifests. No ship logs. No housing records for newcomers. So where did these people come from? It is as if the population did not arrive. It simply appeared. And then there is the matter of demolition. Many of the stone buildings that survived the fires were soon declared unsafe or obsolete. Within a short time, they were demolished under the banner of modernization. These were not fragile structures. They had thick walls, deep foundations, arched ceilings, and multiple underground levels. Why would an ordinary residential building require foundations comparable to a fortress? Official explanations claim these underground levels were incomplete basements or naturally filled over time. But photographs show something very different. Perfectly straight walls, clear tool marks, finished stone surfaces. Nature does not build like this. Another pattern becomes visible when we look at infrastructure projects carried out before many of the fires. Old pipelines were removed. Unknown underground passages were sealed. Lower levels were deliberately filled in. Then came the fire. Then came reconstruction. It feels like a sequence: preparation, destruction, replacement. Some eyewitnesses described explosions, sudden flashes, load-bearing columns collapsing almost instantly. This does not resemble an ordinary city fire. Reports even mention temperatures high enough to melt metal and shatter stone. But a typical urban fire cannot reach such intensity. To achieve that level of heat, conditions similar to industrial furnaces are required. Where did that energy come from? In several post-fire reports, commissions briefly mention strange metal structures found beneath the ruins of buildings officially described as stone. The descriptions are vague, almost hesitant. Mentions of reinforcing ribs, unidentified alloys, unfamiliar designs, and then nothing. No photographs, no preserved samples, no follow-up studies. As if these discoveries were quietly removed from memory. After the fires, new archival institutions appeared. Documents recovered during cleanup were supposedly collected. And yet almost all surviving records date to after the catastrophe. The paper memory of the old world seems to vanish, replaced by a new one. What we are left with is a simplified narrative, a clean timeline, a convenient story. When we compare the dates of the Great Fires, another disturbing pattern emerges. They occurred in waves, roughly every 10 to 15 years, across vast regions, North America, Europe, territories stretching from the Baltic to the Black Sea. This rhythm is difficult to dismiss as coincidence. It resembles a large-scale operation, methodical, patient, systematic. The industrial era is said to begin during this period. But what if it was not a beginning? What if it was a reboot? Imagine cities already standing, filled with architecture too advanced, too massive, too refined for the technological and demographic conditions attributed to the mid-19th century. Imagine that this old system became inconvenient, incompatible with a new industrial order. What happens then? You erase it. Fire becomes not an enemy, but a tool. Notice something else. The areas that burned most thoroughly were often the ones where architectural anomalies were concentrated. Buildings that did not fit the official timeline. Structures that later historians struggled to explain. These disappeared first. In several cities, excavation reveals buried floors 5 to 7 meters below current street level. Officially, this is explained as natural accumulation of cultural layers. But photographs show finished walls and doorways far below ground, entire levels deliberately buried. If all of this were coincidence, it would be an extraordinary one. But when viewed together, it forms a single, unsettling narrative. Underground cleanup, selective dismantling, removal of materials, fire to erase traces, rapid reconstruction under a new plan, cities transformed, populations replaced or redefined, history rewritten. If this scenario sounds fictional, consider this. Even within fiction, the disappearance of evidence on such a scale requires intent. And that leads to the most dangerous question of all. What exactly needed to be erased? What knowledge? What technologies? What understanding of the past? Perhaps our civilization is not the first to reach a high level of development. Perhaps it is simply the one that exists after a major reset. A generation given a new textbook, a cleaned-up timeline, a past stripped of inconvenient chapters. If so, then we are living on the surface of another history, one buried beneath our cities, beneath our streets, beneath our assumptions. And if memory has already been erased once, what guarantees it cannot happen again? The great fires of the 19th century, when viewed through this lens, cease to be random disasters. They become turning points, boundaries between two worlds. The old world burned, a new one was assembled, and the most unsettling thought is this: if the button was pressed once, someone knows how to press it again. If you are listening to this, it means you are already asking questions that go beyond the official narrative. And that alone changes everything. Because history does not fear answers. It fears questions.
Guys, how did you like the video? I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon so you never miss any new videos. Take care, everyone. See you very soon with another new video.